Let us begin with an unfiltered confession. The color has slowly bled out of your existence. Think back to the last time a piece of music truly shattered your soul, when a single melody took absolute possession of your consciousness. Then, without warning, that profound emotional resonance vanished. The song remained identical, yet the magic evaporated. This is a profound neurological shift. Your brain, in its relentless pursuit of efficiency, learned to perfectly predict every single beat. And the moment the human mind can perfectly predict its environment, it entirely ceases to care. The catastrophic reality is that your brain has been systematically trained by a multi-billion-dollar attention economy to reject anything that does not grant an immediate, effortless reward. The activities that once defined your passion, your creative hobbies, your professional ambitions, have all been rendered utterly predictable. When your entire existence becomes predictable to your nervous system, you enter a state of chronic apathy. This is not a lack of motivation, but the biological reality of an overstimulated nervous system where the brain fundamentally refuses to assign interest to the ordinary world. If you find yourself scrolling through short-form video feeds for hours, acutely aware that you are completely bored, yet entirely incapable of stopping, your brain has simply forgotten how to experience normal life. To fix it, we must transcend standard self-help advice and dive deep into the primal forces of human biology. Fulfilling interest does not emerge from the objective reality of your achievements. It depends entirely on your brain's expectation. Interest is a highly calculated chemical process managed by an ancient survival network deep within the human brain. When you encounter a novel experience, your brain synthesizes dopamine. Contrary to popular belief, dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It is the molecule of anticipation, craving, and pursuit. It evaluates whether an event is critical for your survival and demands that you repeat it. But your brain does not release dopamine in response to a reward. It releases dopamine exclusively in response to a surprise. When reality perfectly mirrors your prediction, the dopamine response drops to absolute zero. The modern digital landscape provides a hyper-predictable cascade of instant gratification, effectively flattening your dopamine baseline and rendering your brain entirely incapable of experiencing excitement from the subtle nuances of real life. To break free from this matrix of apathy, you must grasp a monumental scientific discovery. Wanting a reward and liking a reward operate on entirely independent neural circuits. Dopamine governs the absolute tyranny of wanting. It is the raw, unyielding urge that forces you to scroll. But you do not actually like the digital garbage you consume. You are merely trapped in the chemical cage of wanting it. When you live in a state of constant overstimulation, your brain initiates a protective defense mechanism known as downregulation, systematically destroying its own dopamine receptors to protect itself. You become biologically numb. The world around you isn't inherently boring. Your brain has simply lost the biological hardware required to feel it. It is precisely at this neurological crossroads that we must introduce the ultimate biological catalyst, a practice thoroughly validated by the laws of energy conservation. The profound discipline of semen retention. Your reproductive energy is the single most resource-intensive, biologically demanding force within the human body. When an individual succumbs to chronic self-gratification via digital intimacy, they subject their nervous system to the absolute highest peak of artificial dopamine delivery possible to human biology. This catastrophic surge of dopamine causes the most violent downregulation of receptors imaginable, plunging the mind into a profound state of post-ejaculatory apathy, brain fog, and existential weakness. When you make the unyielding commitment to practice semen retention, you choose to consciously retain this volatile, potent life force energy. Biologically, the human body begins an intricate process of reabsorbing these precious vital compounds back into the bloodstream, using them to fortify your physical structure and optimize your cognitive architecture. By entirely cutting off the ultimate source of cheap, unearned dopamine, you force your brain out of its state of lazy complacency. Your dopamine receptors, starved of artificial hyperstimuli, undergo an aggressive process of upregulation, becoming highly sensitive once again. The natural consequence of this profound biological retention is a complete reversal of apathy. The ordinary world suddenly regains its vivid texture. A simple conversation, a walk in nature, or working on a complex business problem begins to feel incredibly engaging because your brain now possesses the pristine chemical sensitivity required to appreciate it. Knowing this science is utterly meaningless without an exact, unforgiving execution strategy. To completely reclaim your mind, you must embark on a rigorous 3-week behavioral framework. Week 1 is defined by a singular ruthless directive: subtract. For 7 consecutive days, you must completely banish every single piece of short-form digital media from your existence. No reels, no shorts, no TikTok, no mindless scrolling. This hyper-accelerated content switching is the exact mechanism that destroys your attention span. If you must consume media, it must exclusively be content over 10 minutes in length. Simultaneously, you will implement 20 minutes of daily, intentional boredom, sitting in a chair with absolutely no phone, no music, and no external stimulation. Let your mind wander into the void so your brain can actively reset its baseline. Furthermore, when you consume your meals, your eyes will look at your food, not a glowing screen. As you enter week 2, your objective shifts to rewire. You must explicitly teach your nervous system a new foundational rule: effort must always precede the reward. Begin with hyper-focused, low-stimulation tasks, like reading a physical book for just 15 minutes a day. Because your dopamine receptors are actively recovering, this simple act will feel profoundly different. To accelerate this rewiring, introduce controlled, meaningful surprises into your routine to trigger positive prediction errors. Drive to your destination using an entirely unfamiliar route. Reach out to an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, or commit to learning a difficult physical skill that pushes you out of your comfort zone. This deliberate exploration activates a dormant exploratory network in your mind, allowing genuine human interest to be reborn. Finally, week 3 establishes the permanent foundation. To ensure that you do not collapse back into old destructive habits, you must optimize your biological recovery. You will commit to 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted, non-negotiable sleep every single night, so your brain can physically cleanse itself of metabolic waste and permanently repair its neural pathways. To protect this state, your smartphone will be banned from your bedroom, kept entirely out of arm's reach. You will anchor your daily life in deep, real-world human interactions, direct exposure to morning sunlight, and intense physical exercise. Combined with the unbroken practice of semen retention, this 3-week protocol will completely alter the physical structure of your brain. The first 7 days will test the absolute limits of your willpower, but if you possess the rare, unyielding courage to endure the initial discomfort, you will emerge into a reality where the fog has completely cleared. Reclaim your energy. Take absolute command of your destiny.